It was a summer evening when Emily returned to her hometown after nearly 10 years. The small coastal village of Windmere hadn't changed much, its narrow cobblestone streets, the scent of the ocean drifting through every corner, and the golden glow of lanterns hanging above shop doors. Yet, for Emily, everything felt different. She was no longer the shy teenager who had once dreamed of leaving. She had left, traveled the world, built a career, but a piece of her heart had always stayed behind. That piece had a name, Daniel. Daniel was her childhood friend, her first love, the boy who had once promised her the stars. They had spent countless nights on the beach, lying side by side, making wishes on constellations they could barely name. But life had pulled them apart. Emily left for university, and Daniel stayed behind to take care of his family's small boat repair business after his father fell ill. Letters were exchanged at first, full of dreams and longing, but eventually they stopped. Now, standing at the edge of the pier, Emily wondered if he would even remember her the same way. "Emily," a familiar voice called out, soft yet filled with disbelief. She turned, and there he was. Daniel. His hair was slightly longer, his skin tanned from years under the sun, and his eyes, those same warm, steady eyes, looked at her as though no time had passed. For a moment, neither spoke. The waves filled the silence between them, carrying memories of laughter, tears, and the unspoken words of years lost. Finally, Daniel broke into a smile. "You came back." Emily's heart trembled. "I promised I would, didn't I?" That night, Daniel took her to their old spot on the beach. The stars shimmered above as if waiting for them to return. They sat on the sand, shoulders brushing, silence comfortable yet charged with everything unsaid. "I used to come here," Daniel admitted quietly. "Every night for months after you left. I thought if I wished hard enough on these stars, maybe you'd come back." Emily's eyes stung. "And I thought leaving would make me forget. But every city, every crowd, I kept searching for something that felt like home. And it was always here. With you." He turned to her, eyes shining with emotion. "Emily, I never stopped," he paused, as if afraid the truth might shatter between them. "I never stopped loving you." The world seemed to hold its breath. Emily reached for his hand, her fingers trembling as they intertwined with his. "I never stopped either." Under the blanket of stars, they kissed, a kiss that carried the weight of lost years, the warmth of forgiveness, and the promise of forever. The ocean roared its approval, the night wrapped them in silence, and the stars above burned brighter than ever. For in that moment, two souls found their way back to where they truly belonged. The Bridge of Lanterns. The first time Emma saw Daniel, it was under the glow of lanterns along the old stone bridge that crossed Willow Creek. Every summer, the little town held its lantern festival, where hundreds of colorful lights floated into the night sky. She was carrying a basket of candles, struggling to keep the wind from blowing them out, when he appeared beside her. "Here," Daniel said with a smile, shielding the flame with his hands until the candle flickered steadily again. His voice was gentle, but his eyes held a quiet confidence, as though he had spent his whole life protecting fragile flames from disappearing. Emma had just moved back to town after years away, trying to recover from a broken engagement. Daniel, a local architect, had never left. Their first conversation was simple, about lanterns, about the weather, about the bridge itself, but something in the way he listened made Emma feel seen, as if her words mattered. Over the following weeks, they kept running into each other. Sometimes it was in the town's small bookshop where Emma spent afternoons reading. Other times, it was by the creek where Daniel sketched designs for the new library. Each meeting felt accidental, but each one stitched them closer together. One evening, Emma confessed, "I'm not sure I'm ready to feel again. I came here to escape, not to start over." Daniel didn't rush to answer. He simply looked at her and said, "Sometimes, escape is where we find the beginning we didn't know we needed." Their bond grew quietly. They walked along the bridge in the evenings, their steps echoing against the stone. Emma told him about the dreams she once had of opening a cafe filled with books and music. Daniel admitted his fear that his designs would never truly last, that time would erase his work. In each other's honesty, they found comfort. The night of the next Lantern Festival arrived. The bridge was crowded with people, laughter, and music. Emma and Daniel stood side by side, each holding a lantern. The tradition was to write a wish before letting it rise into the sky. Emma hesitated, then wrote, "To find a love that feels like home." Daniel, watching her, wrote something quickly and tucked it away. They released their lanterns together. The lights drifted upward, glowing against the dark sky, carrying their wishes into the unknown. For a moment, the world fell silent around them. Then Daniel turned to her. "Do you want to know my wish?" Emma nodded. He smiled, his eyes reflecting the lantern light. It was simple. That you'd stay. Her heart trembled, but instead of fear, she felt warmth. A kind of certainty she hadn't known in years. The bridge, the lanterns, the night, they all faded, and all she saw was him. From that night on, Emma stopped running from her past. She let herself belong again, to the town, to the people, and most of all, to Daniel. Together, they rebuilt not only the old bridge, which Daniel redesigned to last for generations, but also the fragile bridges inside themselves. And every year, under the lantern-lit sky, they returned to the same spot. Emma no longer needed to write her wish. She was already holding it in her hands. Whispers of the Horizon. The small coastal town of Seabrook had always been a quiet place, where the waves kissed the shore gently and the salty wind carried the laughter of fishermen returning home. Among the white cottages and cobblestone paths lived Elena, a painter whose heart was full of colors she could never quite put onto canvas. Every morning, she sat by her attic window, sketching the sea, hoping to capture something beyond its endless blue, a feeling, a promise, perhaps even a dream. One summer evening, as the sky turned crimson, she wandered to the harbor with her sketchbook. There she met Adrian, a young sailor who had just returned from months at sea. His clothes were worn, his hands rough, but his eyes, deep, gray, and restless, held the kind of stories Elena had always longed to paint. Their conversation began simply, about the tides, about the stars, about how the horizon seemed like a secret doorway to another world. Adrian was unlike anyone she had known. His words were quiet but filled with wonder, and when he laughed, it felt like the sea itself softened. Elena found herself meeting him almost every evening, the two of them sitting on the old wooden pier, their voices mingling with the sound of the waves. Weeks passed, and what began as chance encounters turned into something neither of them could ignore. Adrian brought her seashells from his journeys, each with a story. Elena painted him not as a sailor, but as a dreamer, a man standing at the edge of the world, searching for something he could not name. But love, as beautiful as it was, came with its shadow. Adrian's life was tied to the ocean. His next departure loomed closer with each passing day. Elena, who had always painted horizons, now dreaded them. She feared they would steal him away forever. On the night before his departure, they stood together at the cliff's edge. The moonlight bathed them in silver, the sea stretching endlessly before them. Adrian held her hand tightly, as if he could anchor himself to her. "I don't know where the winds will take me," he whispered, "but wherever I go, my heart will carry you." Tears blurred Elena's vision, but she forced a smile. "Then promise me one thing, when you look at the horizon, think of me. I'll be looking too." With one final kiss, he left. The harbor felt emptier than ever, and Elena spent her days painting the horizon, filling canvas after canvas with colors of longing, hope, and memory. Months turned into years. Letters came and went, but the distance felt like a storm she could not escape. Yet every evening, she climbed the cliff and looked toward the horizon, believing that one day, it would bring him back. And then, one golden morning, the townspeople gathered at the shore. A familiar ship appeared on the horizon, its sails glistening in the sunlight. Elena's heart raced. She ran down the pier, breathless, her eyes searching. There he was, Adrian, older, a little more weathered, but with the same gray eyes that had once stopped her heart. When he stepped onto the pier, time seemed to collapse. He dropped his bag, reached for her, and whispered, almost trembling, "I'm home." In that moment, Elena realized something. Love was not about waiting for horizons to close. It was about finding someone who made every horizon worth chasing. And so, the painter and the sailor stood together by the sea, no longer separated by distance, but bound by a love as vast and endless as the ocean itself.